Got you feared it. It just sounds like it's on the way. XDefiant leaks suggest future factions might include Assassin's Creed and Rabbids. Why would Rabbids be here?
I'm glad you remembered that I said this a few days ago. It was a bizarre thought. Little did I know.
Oh man, I didn't like. Come on, don't do this. O's and Kunk over VG 24/7. XDefiant is the latest live service shooter on the scene, and the leaker appears to be teasing some of the game's upcoming factions. Did I tell you? While it's seeing a few delays, XDefiant, formerly known as Tom Clancy's XDefiant, and they finally dropped Tom Clancy because they mix-matched everything else in here, finally released towards the end of last month, and so far it seems to be shaping up pretty good. Both Fran and Connor think so. People from the team over VG 24/7. Even if the latter of the two of them questions how long it can last, Call of Duty Black Ops 6 on the way. Scott, we've called this too, haven't we?
Oh yes, as well, this stands to be the Call of Duty killer, so it makes sense that its first competition will be approaching very soon. Call of Duty puts out one every year. This is going to have to stay current.
Yeah, we'll see how this works. But one of the key hooks to XDefiant is how the various factions in the game are based on other established Ubisoft franchises like Ghost Recon, Splinter Cell, The Division, Far Cry, and Watch Dogs. It's not exactly hard to guess that more factions would be added eventually, but data miner and leaker, again TX, has recently been sharing some insights as to what might be next for the game. Some of the more boring data mine findings include things like gun sounds and names, a number of which have now been copyright claimed, pointing towards their legitimacy, but they also did seemingly share what new factions will be coming to the game. Ready for this, Scott? These include assassins from Assassin's Creed, operators from Ghost Recon Breakpoint, the GSG9 members from Rainbow Six Siege, and the highwaymen from Far Cry New Dawn. There's to get started. There's also been assets and more for things like maps and character renders, further showing evidence that these additions, but again, a lot of these appear to have been since copyright claimed. The weirdest of all leaks, though, comes in the form of the faction set to arrive in the game's second year, presuming it makes it that far. Rabbids?
That's a bit of a...
And the crew. Dude, the crew, like the original, maybe? Because the crew, what we know it to be now, doesn't matter.
You just reminded me that the crew has been sunsetted and delisted now, but welcome back.
Oh, man. Scott,
go ahead. How do you fit vehicles into the meta of, am I going to be a transformer walking around? I'm not sure how that makes sense at all. From the crew Motorfest, I don't recall any standout characters whatsoever.
No, nobody will remember that one. I think anybody remembers the crew, the very first game, will be kind of questioning me, like I am right now, going, okay, who are you pulling over? You got the main character, and his brother was set up. Like, man, there's just
was he voiced by Vin Diesel or something? Because otherwise, I'm not sure why you would bring him back. But I'm more questioning Rabbids. That's the really strange one.
That's ridiculous. Dude, it's ridiculous, right? We're kind of at a high-end shooter, and you're gonna bring in the Rabbids. Why would you do that? I don't understand. Why not stick with the Ghost Recon, the Division, Rainbow Six? Makes a ton of sense to pull in Rainbow Six. I can see that. We all predicted that one, I think, at this point. But when you get into the Rabbids, like, why would you bother? Why not just pull in Immortals Phoenix Rising characters now too?
For Honor, let's not leave them out.
Yeah, right. No gun there at all. It's just, I don't know. Are they grasping for straws, Scott, at the end of the day when they're looking for the longevity of this game?
Yeah, that's a good point. Is this scraping the bottom of the barrel already?
Yeah.
Unfortunately to say that. Not to say that Rabbids is that commercially negative or anything like that, but just that they're scraping for ideas already before the first year is even up.
That's just it.
You do have to plan for a long roadmap, so maybe this isn't a sign of trouble quite yet, but when it comes to longevity and a new Call of Duty every year, how long can Ubisoft keep this going?
I don't know. And you remember Hyperscape?
I'm one of the few that does.
Right? That's what I'm predicting. I bet we're into that situation, not as quickly, but eventually. I think is where that one's gonna go. I think this is where XDefiant is going. I see Corey actually playing this a lot right now, so it's gonna be interesting. He's enjoying it, but how long is he gonna stick around, especially when Call of Duty is coming out just around the corner? That's the bigger question, right? Will it withstand? Definitely, it'll lose a player base because Call of Duty now is in last year's game, right? So okay, once the new one drops, then there's a pull there. It's that excitement of brand new Call of Duty. What do we got? Let's jump back in. Away we go. All your friends meet up. You all head out. You have a great time. Will you come back to XDefiant? That's the other question, right? When I think Ubisoft needs to line this up, and they need to line it up properly. Going, okay, Call of Duty, we already know a release date, don't we? Right? In around, give or take. It's always the
I
same
believe
time.
so.
October, right?
Yeah, I can't recall it right now, but I want to say it's either October or November. Yeah.
Yeah. So if we solidify the release date, then let's launch the next season 2 weeks after, 3 weeks after Call of Duty drops to pull some of those players back, right?
Yeah.
Because you're about to lose them straight up. There's no way you're not going to lose players. Ubisoft has to be aware of this. I'd like to see what their game plan is. Be a fly on the wall would be an interesting way to be there, right? To see, okay, how much do they fear right now the release of Call of Duty 6? That's a big one.
That's absolutely their biggest competition, and they rose to be competition towards that. But I think you're right about that, catching that kind of the wave when the tide comes back in from Call of Duty releasing, because there is usually a spin-off of people that are upset about whatever the tiny changes are, and they could come back to this because it's been a standard so far.
That's just it, right? They're already excited. They're already invested. They're getting in there. They're getting the battle pass. They're doing this, that, and the other. Okay, we're going to launch season 1. Season 1 is going to take off. We're going to do this. Let's get ready. Let's listen to player feedback. That's the biggest thing. And then be transparent with our player base so that they understand, hey, here's what changes we've heard that you would like. Here's what we're doing. This is how we're going to apply it to the game. Here's what's coming next. So, Call of Duty out, say, 2 weeks before Call of Duty launches. This is just me being a marketing guy over on this side going, okay, this is how I think I would line this up. So
armchair marketing.
That's right. Yeah. Ooh, lucky me. It's but it's one of those. I would launch. Okay, here's the announcement of what's coming out. Trailer, the whole works, right? Get ready for the next season, which is then you give them 2 to 3 week window to play their Call of Duty, and then get ready to drop. And then as you have your 2 week prior to the Call of Duty launch, that's when you drop the trailer and the tease and a couple other little tidbits of info of what changes you're making to the game, what's new to the addition of the game in the next season, and then lead your marketing up until the launch of the next season. So as they're still playing Call of Duty when it drops, they're still getting tidbits of, hey, don't forget about XDefiant. Hey, new season.
I think that's
XDefiant, right?
I think that's why they're going with something strange like Rabbids or the Crew, because it's that curiosity pick. You have to check out, how are they going to make this work? What did they do to my game?
Absurd.
And that will just bring you, it brings you in the door.
Dude, Rabbids turns me off this game even further. I do not want to be in there shooting with a rabbit. Like, what did they get? No, man. Everybody else is like realistic, geared up, right? So you have all these factions. You have the Splinter Cells there. You have the Division there. Everybody looks cool. And then you're going to introduce a marshmallowy rabbit? Like,
yeah, I don't want the Rabbids in Rainbow Six Siege, so I hope it doesn't have a similar effect.
Yeah, but either way, let us know over at ITGTV.com. Are you excited for some of these leaked factions?